So this is a beautiful dua. And then istikhara is very important. He used to teach istikhara for everything. And this is something, I'll tell you a true story. Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya was in Jordan, and they were on their way. It was very late at night, and they were on their way to the airport, and the driver fell asleep and crashed into a telephone pole. He died. Sheikh Abdullah broke his nose, and there was blood everywhere. And his son, and this is a true story, his son told me this. He was in the car, and his son started screaming because he was worried his dad was seriously injured. He was actually, it wasn't that bad of an injury, but because there was so much blood, he thought it was really serious. He screamed, and he said his father took his arm, squeezed it, and said, "Labas, astaghfirullah. Don't worry, I did istikhara before this trip." That's the power of this. That's the power of the prophetic teaching, is that you are in the hub. You're in that place where you're not perturbed by the world. And things are going to get very serious on this planet. We're entering into a new phase, and people need to have strong iman, and they need to be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They need to be connected. I mean, one of the things about Edith Stein that was so amazing, she actually, when she fled to after Kristallnacht, when they were persecuting the Jews, she fled to, they took her to Belgium. And she was in a monastery there. And she used to go out into the cold like she was preparing for something. And this is eyewitness people that saw this. She was taken to Auschwitz when the Nazis invaded, and they took even the converts to Catholicism, because she had converted out of Judaism to Catholicism. But she took her to Auschwitz. There were eyewitness accounts that she was comforting people in that situation. And she only was there for 1 week. She was killed right away. But the point is that people of Iman can deal with this. When people don't know this, but in Korea, when they captured the Americans, they captured Turks with them. So they were actually imprisoned together. And when they studied, the Americans all fell apart, and they actually started doing recordings for the Koreans, like communist propaganda. And they were very worried about this because they felt they were brainwashed. It was all from the interrogation, but the Turks didn't. They didn't succumb to the interrogation, and they wanted to understand why. And what they found out was two things that the Turks did. One, they laughed a lot because they saw the ridiculousness of what they were trying to do in the brainwashing. So they just would watch these people telling them these things, and they thought it was funny. And I know that that's from a type of iman, where you kind of recognize the hilarity of this dunya and the stupidity of human beings. And I know it had to do with their upbringing as Muslims. The other thing that they did, they always appointed, because they would take away the officers and the morale would break down with the Americans. The Turks always appointed an amir. So they always, even if it was a private, they would appoint somebody over them, and he would keep them all together. So these are really, really important things to remember. We need to be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.